Hi there. Thank you for tuning in to Grow Your Gifts. Today's topic is going to be my mistakes and not giving up. So, we all, like to think about how much we've learned, and specifically me, what an expert I am in childcare, and all the many years, I've been doing this. But I honestly have gotten where I've gotten because I've probably made every mistake in the book that you can make with young children. Um, when it comes to the details and the nuances and the little things, I think that's what helped me smooth out the rough parts is, a lot of trial and error, and also not giving up on myself. So that perseverance. But that was a choice, and I could have gone any direction. I could have done many different things. I have a lot of passions, but I choose to keep going in this direction, and I think it's served me well over the years. So I think it's more, relatable for everybody as well, that we all make mistakes and we all have to fall down and get back up again. And it's hard. It's not easy, but hopefully it gets easier. So I'll just jump right in. One mistake that came to mind during my journey as a ECE, early childhood educator, I was working with toddlers back in with like basically 15 toddlers, 2 educators, so 2 teachers, and they were all boys, and we were in a low income area. So I'm just trying to set the scene. I have no biases this way, that way. I'm not trying to make any generalizations, but I have recognized and observed that boys and girls generally can be different, and their needs are, different. So I did all the ECE. I had my, experience with autism. I thought I'm doing pretty good, but I had never experienced anything like this before. So imagine 15 toddler boys, me and the other educator. So we do, we split up as much as we can and have our own groups, you know. Uh, so when I had my own group and, she was doing her group outside, that sort of thing, well, I'll just say it. The mistake I made was I was like, okay, maybe if I take away the thing that they're fighting over, they'll stop fighting. So I did that, and let's just summarize this, by the end there was almost nothing in the room. So I was able to put it on, another side of the room so they couldn't see it, and there was almost no toys, and it was empty, and I was like, okay, they're still fighting. I don't know how they found a way to still fight. What? So yeah, I felt defeated. I felt like, okay, that technique did not work. And back to the drawing board. So that's where, I didn't give up. I said, you gotta go back to the drawing board, go back to your foundation, go back to what worked, So I remembered with children with autism, what I learned at that time. It's always evolving and changing. We're always learning new and better things. But at that time, we learned that all behavior is communication. So I'm like, okay, those boys were just communicating. I got to figure this out, And and all behavior serves 4 functions. So one, just generally to give you an idea of what that means, is one is access to tangible. So, I go to work, I get a paycheck. That's basically a way to understand that. Another function of behavior, the second one, is sensory. So it just feels good, or, I like it, or I like the taste, Man, those chicken nuggets are good, I'm going to McDonald's. That's an example of sensory. And the third function of behavior is escape. So, yeah, I don't want to watch, do my homework. I want to go watch my favorite Marvel movie or whatever it is. So That's another function of behavior. And the fourth is attention-seeking behavior. That, is the most common in children. I have found, and with my cat as well, when I worked with her, we saw the exact same thing. It was all, when I really sat down and looked at it, even with my cat, when she was here, and she has passed on, but I worked a lot with her for almost 10 years, and I saw dramatic changes, and I would just look at what is she trying to communicate, what kind of function is this behavior serving, that type of thing. So when I did that, I went back to the drawing board with those 15 toddlers. I figured it out. I won't bore you with the details. And, for example, I got those cars, what do you call it, toy cars, and we dipped them in paint. I filled them with activities, basically, and they got to roll it on the mural paper on the table. So we just did a lot of things, ball, motion. I figured out, what do boys love? They love to use their body in general. They love transportation for some reason, and anything to do with vehicles. It's kind of cool. So once you tap into their flow, their energy, and you understand that, hey, their parents are like both probably working 3 jobs each. They don't have time, they don't have energy to really discipline them or sit down with them and give them firm boundaries. They're depleted. So that stepped up my role to be like, no, I'm gonna be the dad here, and we're gonna have fun, but on my terms. So that's what we did, and it was good. It was a mistake, but on my part, but I was able to, turn it around, of course, because I chose to not give up. So that's one example. The other part I want to talk about, and just with that, so the other part I wanted to talk about was, I was in a news story, I guess you could say. I was in a preschool room. No, it was again a toddler room, different one, different center. And there was 3 of us. I must be wrong with the numbers. I'm not good with numbers, but basically there was 3 of us, around 15 toddlers, and each of us teachers had a different style. All 3 of us were ECE. Sometimes you have ECE, ECA, like, early childhood educator, early childhood assistant. I see it as we're all equals, but it does help if one person kind of steps up and takes the lead, and then we communicate as a team that way. But that didn't happen. So I found out later we were all ECEs, but we were kind of acting like one of us was ECE and the other 2 were ECAs. The mistake was all 3 of us had an ego issue. So we were all 3 of us doing something different. And right away, the kids picked up on that. And the kind of behaviors that came up in the room. I mean, yeah, it has to do with their personal life, but I felt like it was also because we weren't on the same page as the 3 adults in the room, guiding that ship. So there was biting, there was hitting, there was different things going on, and it caught like wildfire, and even like swear words. We were like, what is going on? And once we kind of figured out that, oh, these toddlers are playing us, we got on board, and we said, you know what, put our differences aside, maybe request a different classroom, whatever you need to feel comfortable, because we're all human, and I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I know I can be annoying, and everyone else has annoying tendencies, so you learn to work with what you have, and if you can get a different classroom with people who you work better with, even better. But we did our best, and by the end, I think we were having fun. And the kids picked up on that, and we all backed each other up. When someone said no, we all said no. And then later we had a discussion about, like, well, I don't really agree with how you did that. Can you tell me why? We don't do it in front of the kids, basically. So that was, a big lesson for me, a big mistake I made. That, no, I don't always know best, and I really have to put my ego aside for the sake of the whole classroom and safety and everything that was going on. I mean, there was a lot of factors. It wasn't just that, but we can make such a big difference when, you know, we work as a team. And on the flip side of that, it was another toddler room, same center. And I just wanted to share like a really nice story, positive story. So there's 3 of us teachers, and we have completely different personalities. Like, one of them is super gentle, the other one is tough as nails, and I'm kind of in the middle. So, you know, I have a bit of both, but in my own way. And then, you know, and we worked as a team, no problem, but our styles were like completely different. But still, it became like poetry in motion. It was really something to witness, something to see, and everything was just running so smoothly, so harmoniously. It was really, really nice and enjoyable. And, you know, I discovered later on that the gentle lady has so much strength. Like, she had been through, you know, unimaginable things that I, you know, couldn't believe that she went through. And that's why she had such a strong, gentle side about her. It wasn't like, you know, flimsy and, you know, doormat kind of person. It was a strength in her gentleness. And the kids picked up on that. And the one I realized later too, I discovered that she wasn't just hard as nails. She had like a heart of gold. And, you know, even if she didn't know you, she would like offer you helpful solutions and suggestions and tips and, you know, just so sweet. But you wouldn't know that from right off the bat. So I think we all had that in common, that, you know, when we care a lot, we care big, and the kids responded to that in that toddler room. So that was really cool. So yeah, I think with the not giving up part of it, I really had to tap into my own style. The sun's going. And I really had to learn how to outsmart a toddler. Yeah, it's October right now in Canada, Southern Ontario, and I even brought my sweater, but I do not need it. Summer is hanging on. So yeah, it's a beautiful day. It's really hot, really nice. Yeah, so not giving up, I tapped into my own style, and I figured out how to outsmart a toddler. That's what it came down to, because children are incredibly smart. And it's tougher than it looks to outsmart them. You really have to, you know, come up with a game plan. I found the same thing with animals and infants. I went to multiple workshops, but one of them really resonated with me about infants and explaining how their brain is actually like a supercomputer, like what we know of it so far. A supercomputer who's had like 6 espressos or something. And when you really see it from that perspective, you're like, wow, okay, you see what you're up against, because they're, I don't know, emotionally aware of what's going on. That's why, you know, a lot of parents, they say, oh, my little infant, you know, they've got me wrapped around their little finger. And you can see that because they know exactly what sound to make to get, you know, mom or dad to run to them. They're just so intelligent. So how to outsmart a toddler, you know, was part of not giving up, and it really does take some effort to figure out what's going on there. And then going into my own style, yeah, just the main things about my own style, like one is, you know, I really don't give enough. So that's just been true since I hear the stories about me as a child too. I care very deeply on a very personal level within myself. But on the outside, for example, a preschooler actually went up to me and told me, I'm not your friend. I said, all right, I don't need any friends. I have enough friends, that's fine. So it's that sort of, you know, attitude, like, because they will pick up on, oh, if you're cared deeply and you wear your heart on your sleeve, you know, children are ruthless that way. They can be emotionally manipulative. because they're good at it and they get what they want in the end. So they're not trying to, be mean or do it in a hurtful intention. They're just very simple, basic, I found, relationships, way of interacting. So yeah, not giving an F is part of my style. Also, I'm just really resonate with being like a scientist slash ninja slash magician. So in most things I do, I love to take data. I love to trust my muscle memory, and I also combine using my intuition. So, all those three together, really helps with working with children. And the third area with my style is I am naturally have a fountain of patience. That's what led me to ECE, to working with children. I was just playing with, these young children around 5 years old, and someone comes around and says, "Oh, it's time for dinner." I'm like, what? I was like, I felt like we were only playing for like 5-10 minutes, but hours had gone by. I was having such a good time. And people were like, "How did you do that? How did you have so much patience?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm having a blast." I've had more fun with these kids than I had with most adults, sorry. But yeah, that's what it was. And that's how it is with me and animals too. I do love adults and now, but back then it was, I had anxiety and everything. So they're just simple, basic, and in the moment and present, and everything just flows most of the time. And we were just playing. They were old enough to have their own self-regulation and stuff, so we had no issues. And then when I started working one-on-one with children with autism, with a child with global delays, things like that, and I just had a fountain of patience, and I don't even know where it came from, but don't ask me to go to the dentist with a happy face. I don't have patience with a lot of other things. Driving in Toronto, no thank you. Thank you to the dentist, thank you to Toronto, but I rather take the GO train or the Uber or the subway or whatever. Yeah. If I have an option, I'll do something more calm and more peaceful. But what people view as stress with children, I'm okay with. And I don't know why, but that's my style. And that's something, I was able to sort of curate and tap into, and it helped me to not give up. That's what my point is with that. Yeah, and I just wanted to end this video with, somebody else who kind of showed me that tapping into your own style can make all the difference. So it's just a story from my high school days. I had leadership class, which is like camping and all these other things that we do, activities and stuff. I was extremely social anxiety at that time. I did dances and choir, and I put myself out there and did other things that, I tried not to be so awkward. But no, my mom has special needs, and she's an amazing, loving person, and she was growing up always there for a hug, but very withdrawn and in her own world. And my dad was, just frustrated and overwhelmed, doing his best, understandably. And so that, for example, we'd order pizza, me and my sisters, and then the doorbell rang. We're like, "You answer the door." "No, you answer the door." "No, you go pay the guy." No, it would go on for a while. Just funny and embarrassing at the same time. That's how social anxiety works, though, right? So we did eventually, one of us, get the pizza. Yeah, so I was in this leadership class, and this teacher, she observed me, and she picked up on, I was very quiet and reserved and kept to myself. But every now and then I would see somebody who was more quiet than me, and I would go quietly help them. And, I grew up in poverty, but there was another girl who was clearly in worse poverty than me, and, I could tell that from her running shoes. So I gave her my running shoes from Byway. I knew I was gonna get new running shoes soon, cheap ones, because my feet were growing. And so this teacher observed all these things about me. She wrote a thank you card, gave me my photo in there, and just showed that I was participating and helping other people. I was like, wow, I actually feel seen. I actually feel heard. And because she did this, I think other people in the class, my peers, picked up on it. And like for example, we would play volleyball, with two teams, and everyone's just awkwardly like, oh man, here's Hema's turn. But then by the next year, since they saw how this teacher had treated me, how she picked up on my strengths, even though I was like achingly awkward, by the second year of the same leadership class, we're pretty much the same peers together, they were cheering me on. They're like, go Hema, you can do it. It's my turn to serve the volleyball. And that meant the world to me. Wow, like that really filled my heart. And just to be like, this is possible. I don't have to be in this little box, and people around me care, and I'm starting to care, and it was really nice. And that teacher actually went on to become the principal of the school, I heard later on, so that's kind of cool. It's really amazing. So yeah, I think when you tap into your own style, it brings out this authenticity. It really propels you forward to not give up, and other people sometimes respond to it as well. I think truth carries a frequency. So I appreciate you tuning in. I wish you well. And this is a long one, but yeah, thank you. Take care.